The Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Telemstel TV Plus Channel 15, respective radio stations island-wide and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
A pleasant good morning, Honorable Prime Minister, to my colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, listening and viewing public, and a special good morning to our senior citizens. This morning, I would want to provide some updates regarding the ministry, but firstly, I would like to be able to express my condolences to the Blyting family and also to our colleague minister, Egbert Duran, on the loss of our nurse, Kalila Blyden. I hope we could take a minute to give her our appreciation for the service that she brought to St. Martin and the love that everyone has for her. Thank you. I wanted to just touch on the fact that this past June 21st and 22nd, I had the honor of hosting the second and final EAVO for the 2023 year here in St. Martin. The Judicial Four-Party Consultation, often referred to as the EAVO conference, requires a biannual consultation of meetings between the four ministers of justice within the kingdom. I am pleased to report that these meetings were successful and many participants expressed their satisfaction with the outcome of the discussions with the organization of the conference and the topics that we covered. Having achieved a consensus on this decision coming out of the AVO discussions, on Friday, June 23rd, we were able to come together before my colleague ministers departed St. Martin, and we formally signed the AVO decision list. A special thanks is once again being extended to PGIA and its partners for making the conference room available on a very short request to have this special moment taken, because oftentimes we have these meetings and weeks and months later the decision list is then signed. But we're very proud that after such many years, we were able to do this within 24 hours. I am extending thanks to my colleague ministers, namely Minister Frank Weerwind, representing the Netherlands, Minister Rocco Chong of Aruba, and Minister Charlton Hatto of Curacao, their delegations, my staff, our partners, and all who provided some level of service and support to have made this AVO an ultimate success. I'd like to be able to bring to the attention of the public that the Customs Department is showing consistency by publishing their work when it comes to the heightening of their controls at our import or border points of the island. These controls are yielding successful interception of fake or counterfeit goods, illicit drugs, weapons, and even large sums of cash. Shipments to the island will continue to be under high checks by the Customs Department, who are in pursuit of enforcing their legal authority to protect St. Martin. And finally, I want to bring to the attention to the general public. We have recognized that there is a high rise, and I do understand that persons will express this has been happening for years. However, I think it's very important that I make note after consultation and discussions with the fraud department or management at CAPSM, as well as the OM office. Great attention is going to be paid to persons who are representing themselves, opposing themselves as representatives or consultants to be able to apply for residency for persons. They're accepting monies from these individuals and they're not submitting the papers for them. And then when the mobile team of the immigration department is doing their controls and they detain persons, then I am being bombarded with calls and requests for persons to be released because the intention was to submit their paperwork. We give the opportunity for requests for dispensation letters, so the exemption letters that can be requested for the 6 to 8 weeks to apply. There are persons who use it. We have seen opportunities or instances where persons have also abused that opportunity. But I say that to say this: I'm hereby sharing to all persons, if you have proof that you have paid someone to submit documents on your behalf, that person has not done so, you are of the opinion that they have, for the lack of a better expression, scammed you out of your monies, we have the fraud department to handle this case. I am encouraging you to contact the fraud department and file an official complaint. Do not be afraid that you or this will be held against you on your immigration status, because that's not the role and responsibility of the fraud department. However, you run the risk of still being detained if you'd walk away from this situation and not stand up for yourself. The fraud department can be contacted by calling 542-222, so that is basically 52s, extension 217 or 220, or you can send an email to fraud, FRAUD, at policesxm.sx. When someone commits fraud, it is a crime, and so they should be dealt with. So I am encouraging individuals, if you're going to seek the assistance of someone to assist you to apply for your residency, ensure they give you a receipt for the money that you're giving them. And if they do not come through with what you have paid them to do, I encourage you to contact the fraud department. And lastly, I'm going to say this. There is a misconception that the immigration department is not successful with their duties, because oftentimes when there's a court case and the courts rule against the Minister of Justice, that's usually plastered in the newspaper. We have been so focused on doing our job that when we are winning cases, we haven't necessarily published them. So the misconception is that the minister is losing cases, or the ministry or immigration is, and that is really not the case. As a matter of fact, I do believe that the immigration department is, along with their representing attorney, is publishing an article today. And we'll seek to do that more consistently so that the public is aware that the immigration department is working. The pilot program should not be coupled in with general immigration, because we know that the pilot program is specifically for businesses that seek to properly regulate for their staff. If you do not have the support of an employer to apply for you via the pilot project because you don't have 5 years, etc., with them, then you should not be of the comfort that the immigration department is not out doing their job. I just want to make that abundantly clear. But I'm going to leave it there for any questions that the media may have, but I just wanted to be able to give assurance to those who are victims of persons that are using these opportunities to really do wrong by others in such a vulnerable state, to come forward by contacting the fraud department. That's it for me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Relaika. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague, Minister Richardson. Good morning to the media present, as well as those following, and of course, the support staff here at the CoM. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. It is my privilege to address you and share relevant information for the week ahead, of course, highlighting what has passed and the principles that guide our government. I want to express my heartfelt wishes that we can all, we are in the middle of the week, continue to have a fruitful and productive week, of course, with the hope that, understanding though some people may be going trials and tribulations, that we remain hopeful and find ways to still find happiness within our lives. We as government are committed to the well-being of our nation, and together with our stakeholders, you, the community, our collective efforts will bring us closer to a brighter and prosperous future. As did my colleague minister, I would like to take the time out to express my heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Nurse Kalila Blyden, who transitioned yesterday. Of course, it was a sudden transition for many. We face this loss of a beautiful light which has served dedicatedly as a civil servant and was well loved also not just within her family, but within the wider community, and of course, as well on the job. The news of her loss was indeed very hard for several, and I wish to encourage those who are in this very difficult period of time, wish her soul would rest in peace, and be reminded that in the book of Isaiah, scripture reads, "Fear not, for I'm with you. Be not dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So, though life presents us with a lot of unexpected obstacles, loss, moments of profound sadness, it is during these times that we often discover the strength within ourselves and that we never knew existed. It also becomes a moment of growth. So, though it may be difficult to find solace or hope in these difficult moments, know that you are not alone. God is always with you, and you should always reach out to those who you know and love and not stay within misery alone. You have the power within you to overcome whatever hardship you may be facing. So, condolences once again, and we will continue to lift the family, friends, colleagues, as well as all those affected by her, as well as the passing of others, because there are also others. I'm not going to call their names necessarily, but there are more families facing loss at this time, and we wish you all much strength. This is also a time of celebration around the world. Since May, we have been extending congratulations to our students, all of them of all ages, from the 3-year-olds going into their first big school, as you would call it, to those who are graduating, to the seniors who've gone back to school. At any age, these achievements are a momentous occasion to be celebrated. It's a significant milestone to graduate, to finalize, culminate an area of study after years of hard work, dedication, and perseverance. It is a testament of your resilience, your intellect, and your unwavering pursuit of knowledge and self-development. So I really would like to congratulate, once again, all of the remarkable graduates of St. Martin, both at home and abroad. May your accomplishments be the stepping stones to even greater success, fulfillment, and happiness. I would like to encourage each of you to become lifelong learners. Do not stop here. Continue in your quest for personal development, as education is not an end goal, but a journey. It's a journey of a lifetime, and continuing to learn means continued growth. It doesn't mean you have to do it in the four walls of a classroom. I think we should utilize all of the electronics that we have for fun, also to empower ourselves. Continued growth means continued development for yourself and St. Martin. Congratulations once more. On a serious note, I do want to address the matter of preparedness and safety as we navigate the hurricane season, considering the weather forecast that we started to have yesterday, which mentioned that for Wednesday into Thursday, there's an advisory for heavy rainfall as well as a possibility for flooding. So do remain vigilant and take all the necessary precautions, especially those persons in low-lying areas. Pay attention to our regular national weather updates on Meteo SXM, who provide timely information and guidance. Ensure that especially anything that would hamper water flow in heavy rain is taken care of. Clear your spouts, your drainage systems, to ensure that no loose objects could become hazardous as well. Remember, strength is in community, so we ask the strong to look out for the weak in our neighborhoods, the elderly and others requiring assistance, to ensure that we are well prepared. Excuse me. So finally, remain cautious, remain vigilant, and let us not underestimate the power of Mother Nature, but instead be proactive in safeguarding ourselves and our families. Stay informed and support each other so that we can emerge stronger. In that vein, I'm quite proud to convey my gratitude to the Department of BUC, Kingdom Relations and Interior Affairs, the Office of Disaster Management, the VNGI, Resembed, and Expertise France for their continued commitment to improve St. Martin's disaster risk management under the Fostering Resilient Crisis Management Program, funded by the EU. This program recently saw the completion of the trainer certification for persons within government and the community. So each emergency support function, ESF, of the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, identified one or more persons to be trained as trainers. So this in turn allows for multiple persons within our community to be equipped with knowledge as well as skills to be able to impart knowledge to another group of persons. In this way, we will continue to ensure that there's continuity, more persons aware of proper planning, preparation, mitigation, and response will improve our ability to handle any disaster or crisis. The enthusiasm of these graduates with their certificates during this past week, to their enthusiasm to share this knowledge with their colleagues, with the stakeholders within the community, community leaders and the like, is an inspiration for me as Prime Minister and Chair of the EOC. I know that sometimes it appears like we're just going on a treadmill and going, and outing fires, but these are conscious efforts to prepare. We can talk about being low in capacity, but here's an effort that has been made to improve our capacity, to strengthen the civil service as well as others to be able to do more and better work in preparation and in response to any crisis that we may have. And the collaborative effort of all of the stakeholders I mentioned earlier falls neatly within Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnership for the Goals, to ensure continued development for St. Martin in building this capacity, this needed capacity, to be able to better serve St. Martin. That is the highlight of the Ministry of General Affairs for today. Oh, I forgot. This Saturday, before I get to Saturday, we are expecting a visit from the State Secretary this week. She will also be here to celebrate Emancipation Day with us. She will arrive, I believe, Thursday. On Thursday evening, we will be having our farewell ceremony for Steering Committee member, Mr. Marcel Gums, from the Steering Committee of the Trust Fund. So she will be here for that as well, and we will have meetings on Friday. On Saturday, St. Martin will be celebrating Emancipation Day. The program is entitled Born Free. It is the 160th anniversary of the proclamation of abolishment of slavery on July 1st, 1863 by the Dutch government. But as you know, on St. Martin, we're special. We have an extra 15 years. And so earlier this year, when we celebrated with our French counterparts, we were also part of that celebration as we ran for freedom back then. This year's celebration, Born Free, with the dress code of royal elegance, starts with an ecumenical service at 5:30 a.m. Yes, it's quite early. We're doing a sunrise celebration at the St. Simon and Jude Anglican Church on Back Street, after which we will march from the church via the alley where the St. Joseph School is to the sports park on the boardwalk promenade for the Freedom March, 6:30 to 7. And then we will have the Sunrise Tribute Cultural Manifestation, seeing song, dances, and other poetry and other cultural renditions from our very talented people here on St. Martin, right at the sports park location on the boardwalk, and that will be from 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. The general public is, of course, invited to come out 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And the general public is invited to come out to be able to celebrate with us that we are born free in celebration of Emancipation Day, July 1st, 2023. That is this Saturday morning. I look forward to seeing you there and being able to celebrate as we usually do. There will be other celebrations on that day. We know Voices has their usual celebration. And in the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the King is expected to make a statement which will be broadcast via social media and other media forms. So you can also stay tuned to that. I believe that will be at 8:30 a.m. I will confirm and ensure that that is broadcast via our social media pages of government. That is all for now, and I turn the floor back to you, Relaika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. Thank you so much for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. And Bibi Hot Shah of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Laika. Good morning. My first question I'll ask to Prime Minister Silvera Jacob. Prime Minister Jacobs, can you tell us what is the financial status of NVGEBE? How much money does the company has in reserve? And do you believe the company can withstand until the end of the year? And do they have enough money in the event there is a major hurricane this year?
Thank you for the question. Please allow me to get back to the management for that information and relay it to you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you, Rolaika. Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning, Minister of Justice. Prime Minister, it was announced that the emergency recovery project has been extended with 13 months till 2025 with additional funding. Today, 6 years after the hurricane, there is still a number of beneficiaries to the home repair project that are living out of their house and are unable to return. Their houses have new roofs and they have gotten windows and doors. Some of them have not been installed in a proper way. And there's people that have no kitchens, no bathrooms, and uninhabitable situations. What is the government going to take action on that and making sure these people can return to their homes?
Thank you for that question. I think there's been a great misconception as to what the home repair program under ERP1, emergency repairs, entailed. Funding was disseminated directly to some foundations who assisted, as you well know, the Red Cross, the St. Martin Development Fund. They all assisted, they both assisted seniors and other vulnerable persons early in the recovery. The trust fund under the NRPB, on the ERP1, Emergency Recovery Projects, the first phase, also did, as you mentioned, several homes with, and this was the description, so when you put out a terms of reference as to what is expected, this is exactly what was done. The criteria was roofs, doors, and windows. In some cases, they did do more where it was necessary to make the place habitable, but the intention with that fund was not for interior inrichting, not for setting up the interior of the homes. And in fact, homes that were completely destroyed were not able to be funded via this. So this was mainly for roofs, doors, and windows. That was initially. I remember a couple of years ago, noting that this was a situation, we went to the, the finalization of the projects by several homes, and you saw, as you would say, that the kitchen wasn't done or whatever the case may be. What the Ministry of VSR did was they started a project as well, where they tackled, of course, their known recipients of aid who were on that list or hadn't received any assistance at all thus far. And I believe that program is also ongoing. I will double check with the Minister of VSR, where Social Affairs falls, to find out how many have been helped in the meantime, as well as to update on the way forward with this. But of course, it is government's goal to ensure that all our citizens are safe. And I think with the ERP project, it was to ensure you have a shelter so that you can go back in. If persons choose not to go back in based on not having a kitchen finalized or a bathroom back to where it was before, then this is something that would then, if they are within pension age or other low income, they then can request assistance from government, and I encourage them to go via the Ministry of VSR under the Department of Social Affairs. And I will have the ministry update further on what that process is if it's not already out there. Thank you for your concern. It also remains a concern of this government.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Jacqueline. We now move on to the second round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. My question is to the Minister of Justice, Minister Richardson. Can you tell us how much companies applied for permits for their employees during this pilot project? How many applied? How much was granted thus far?
Thank you for your question. So I do believe that the reaction is well over, is in the hundreds. However, the applications that I was made to understand were positive or have been completed is somewhere around 10, for 10 persons whatever, for the process. But the exact statistics I don't have with me, but I can definitely acquire those and send in writing.
Thank you, Minister Richardson. Thank you, Bibi. Jacqueline, you have the floor.
Minister of Justice, a few weeks ago I asked about the carbon group Ponzi scheme. Didn't receive an answer to that, so I would like to ask you what government is doing to maintain or repair the damage to the image of the island when so many investors are duped by the carbon group. My question is towards the presentation in Parliament about the ankle bracelets. Could you tell how many ankle bracelets St. Martin has available and what the price is per day for someone with an ankle bracelet compared to a prisoner, which would be a prisoner $309? Is the ankle bracelet costing more or less?
I did not understand the first half of your questions. I heard something about a scheme. What was the first question? Sorry.
Many people are invested in apartments in Carbon Grove on Colby Hill. Discovered that the apartment that they had invested in were actually resold to other parties. And they took the case to court in civil cases, won all their cases, and are unable to get to be refunded because Mr. Carbon left the island and he's in Florida.
Okay, I don't have any update about that. Those persons would need to contact the prosecutor's office.
The prosecutor's office is not taking any action.
Yeah, I can't do anything about that aspect of it. They would have to contact the prosecutor's office. And with regards to your question on the ankle bracelet, we have not done a comparison on that. We do have 20 ankle bracelets that we are paying for. There are a few of them that are in usage. I don't know how many is particular, but I do not have the statistics in terms of the comparison as to how much it costs for someone to be incarcerated versus being on an ankle bracelet. Because being on an ankle bracelet means that you also have to pay persons to monitor it as well. So, all of that has to be factored into it. But those numbers I don't currently have.
Can you say how much you're paying for the ankle bracelet?
I don't know that figure off my head.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Jacqueline. Third round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. My question, I'll ask this to the Prime Minister because the Minister of TEAT isn't here. Can you tell us or give us an idea as to where are we with the pre-clearance at PJIE? Can you explain also what's the plan of approach for the airport road? Since that area, I believe, was designated for the taxiway, is there any update on the entire situation for the airport?
The recent updates, good. Thanks for the questions. Related to the airport are mainly about the reconstruction, that they're on par, that they haven't noted any recent delays, and that we are expecting to have the departure lounge, the departure area done by the end of this year and the entire project by April next year. So that is good news. As it regards to pre-clearance, that is a collaborative effort. It is between the Ministry of General Affairs, Foreign Affairs Department, TEAT, the airport, etc. Those plans were put on hold, as I mentioned, sometime last year, based on after COVID and a decline in travel and the, cost-cutting measures that the U.S. Department was taking, that they had put all of these discussions on hold. So until they are ready to resume those discussions, they are on hold. And as it relates to the airport road, I don't have that information. I will seek for that. Can you please send that in writing so that it can be forwarded to the Ministry of TEAT
Thank you.
and the airport?
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Bibi. Jacqueline, you have the final question.
Thank you. Prime Minister, I contacted the Inspectorate of VSA regarding the sewage and the well water. The inspectorate doesn't have a telephone number since 2019. I managed to talk to someone who explained that there is no Department of Hygiene and Environment as required by law. There's no inspector of environment. There's not been keeping track of all the chemicals, pesticides, fungicides that are imported in the country. From the water test at the lab in Simpson Bay, it appeared that the well water in St. Martin is highly contaminated with a lot of fungicides. And you explained that it's customary to boil the water and then you drink it. But the lab explained this water is untreatable. So it's not possible to boil it to a point that you can use it for domestic use. So I was wondering if you could say if the government is going to start an awareness campaign that well water on St. Martin cannot be used for domestic use.
Thank you for that question. This is not definitely something that falls within my purview, so I wouldn't want to go into major details on it. I find it very inflammatory, the statements you're making. And if you have proof of such, please submit it to the Ministry of VSA. There are general numbers for government if you're trying to reach government offices, so I don't know them off the top of my head, but I'm sure that we can go to the website and find them. And the last time this question was asked, I can remember it was the end of May. And after we had already answered, I got a response. I remember the Minister of VSI was not here then. And the answer that had been provided that the water is tested prior to, like say, after a hurricane, the water is tested, and then an announcement goes out from the Inspectorate of VSI. The public is then informed as to the well water and what it can be used for. Now, we know that we have several wells on St. Martin. There can be an issue with groundwater and issues with other things contaminating well water. But I know for a fact that most people use well water. In an emergency, you need to flush toilets, you need to do other things than drink water. And government always provides drinking water for our people after disasters. And as you can remember, there were several stations put around the island after the hurricane to provide drinking water to the community. So government has its priority. We have water production taking place. We have storage tanks as well with water. And so we will do our due diligence as it relates to the wells. I am quite sure, even though I'm not the Minister of VSI at this moment, I am quite sure that the ministry is doing its due diligence and will put out a statement on this in regards to the questions that you have asked. Thank you, Rolika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Jacqueline. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telemcell TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.